So yesterday I was talking in my Discord server just like I always do, and that is discord.gg/ChloeGames if you would also like to join us and join in our impeccable conversations. But there was one message from a fan that specifically caught my attention. Chloe, please make a video going in depth about the reasoning behind these usernames, because they used a bot command to check the information of my Roblox account, which also shows every username you have ever had. So I took the idea in and I thought about it for a second, and then I realized that I have literally changed my name on Roblox like 7 different times, and to tell the story behind each username seems like such a fun idea. So thank you to this person for the video idea, but now let's not waste any more time and let's dive right into this. Hello there, please make sure to leave a like on this video to become my favorite person in the whole world, and of course please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Let's reach our new goal of 270,000 subscribers. Alright then, starting off with the most legendary one and the username where it all started. The username that I went with when signing up to Roblox was Jason the Bad, and considering I created that name literally 9 years ago when I was just 10 years old, I couldn't even begin to remember my thought process behind creating that name. But I do remember being far more into the tomboy side of things rather than super pretty pink princess girly stereotypes. So for a good few years I did keep my character as a more male avatar, I guess, and it wasn't so much that I pretended to be a male, it was more just I wanted my avatar to wear those types of things because that's just what I wanted to do, and there's nothing more to that story. But eventually something in my mind switched and it was like, hey Chloe, let's wear some girl styled clothing. And at that point, and because I was 13, I remember that I would often become extremely frustrated when people would call me he, or they would call me a boy. So to go along with my new female avatar, I changed my name for the first ever time, and that's when the most cringeworthy username I have ever had came along. This is the exact moment in time that I Munch was born. Yes, the iconic double I to start the username of the incredibly strange trend that was often associated with online daters, coupled with the letter X replacing a vowel for absolutely no reason. And I have never ever understood this trend, but considering I was 13, I just hopped onto the weirdest trends without even questioning it. Eventually, and after like 2 years of walking around being known as I Munch, I realized just how awful this username was, and I changed it for the second time ever. So now it is time to move on to Chloe_Norman, and this one is actually a lot funnier than I originally realized, because the story to where the name came from isn't super interesting, but a surprising amount of people have tried to privately contact me about something regarding this username, whether that be on Discord in direct messages or in my Roblox messages, but they all seemed rather frantic with the information they were trying to present to me, and all of these people tried telling me that my real life name is actually sitting there in my previous usernames box on my Roblox profile. Yeah, they thought that my full name was Chloe Norman, and they thought I made that my username, and then they tried to warn me about it. Bless their heart and bless their souls, because their intentions and their concerns truly were in the right place, and I guess I can be kinda happy knowing there's people out there that care enough to warn me about something of this nature, but my name is not Norman. However, someone out there does possess the name of Norman, and in fact it was 2 very different people that inspired me to make my literal Roblox username Chloe_Norman. And for those of you who know me well enough by now, you know that I have always loved the TV show known as The Walking Dead. One actor in that TV show, specifically the person who played the role of Daryl, his name is Norman Reedus, and so considering this time frame was way before Negan came along, Daryl was my favourite character in the show, so I remember considering making my name Chloe_Daryl, but this was also around the time that I had been replaying one of my all-time favourite games. So my top favourite games of all time have always been and will always be the Telltale, The Walking Dead series, and Heavy Rain. And one of my favourite characters from Heavy Rain was called Norman Jaden, so I went with a nice little compromise of Chloe_Norman, which doesn't sound like such an amazing username right now. So looking back on it now, this was an awful idea as well, and I guess it can be excused considering it was only the second time that I changed my username on Roblox, but I do remember only keeping the username for a few weeks before changing it once again, which is where Chloe B comes in. And I would like to say that I did almost have my name on its own as my username, but I must admit that the letter L in this one actually did get turned into a capital I, which I remember becoming extremely frustrating after a while because I found myself with the constant struggle of having to explain to people that it's not actually an L but rather it is an I. The name basically comes after my Twitter username of ChloeGames, and there is nothing more to it. I wanted my username to just be Chloe, but obviously that can't happen. So I took some inspiration from myself and my own Twitter name and just added a letter to the end of the name. But back to the constant battle of my name has an I in it, not an L, because this was especially annoying since this was during my Roblox cafe group phase, and I have briefly explained this before, but basically I had a whole phase where I would get multiple job positions inside of these virtual Roblox cafe games and groups, and I was kind of serious with it. You know, I would always work my way up to the high ranks super quickly, but it was such a weird time because it was also the exact same time period that my channel had its own little trolling Roblox cafes phase. They somehow still allowed me to be in their groups, and they somehow still allowed me to uphold my high rank positions. They ultimately didn't care, but yes, it did become extremely annoying when I hosted like security trainings or regular cafe trainings, because the people I would be training always typed the letter L, and then I would have to whip out the explanation to them, and overall I was just not having a great time with the username. So I decided at that point I was just going to change my username to ChloeGames, and with my channel having maybe a maximum of 10,000 subscribers at that point, I honestly didn't expect it to be taken, but the second I went to change it, Roblox swooped in and told me, hey, that name is taken, you can't do that. So young and stupid Chloe from many years ago did what she evidently does best and smacked a nice little letter at the beginning of that username, and so this is when ChloeGames was officially born. I mean, it doesn't look completely awful, but I think there's just something about the letter O at the beginning that's kind of intrusive, and it makes it look far stranger than if it was just ChloeGames. As for the story of this username, you don't need to sit there and listen to me drone on about this one because you are literally watching this video on my channel right now. I think you can figure that one out for yourselves. As I'm moving on, this is the moment, this is the legendary moment that the first edition of Chloe Yuri came into existence. So this one, I mean, even if you don't know me, there is like a 90% chance that you know how much I have always loved Panic at the Disco and just Brendan Urie in general, so it's kind of self-explanatory. But I also want to explain a little teeny tiny bit because the first time I changed my name to Chloe Yuri, it was sometime in 2016, and this is because my friend Andrew, we were both high ranks in one of the cafe groups I mentioned earlier, but we were in one of the training places getting ready to host yet another training, but before we announced it and before we told anyone to join, he was like, so I'm gonna play you a song, it's by Panic at the Disco, and I remember my exact words being, oh wait, that's the emo thing, ew, I am not emo, and I just want to say, oh, how the tables have turned. But then he used admin commands to play the songs in the training place anyway, and he first played This Is Gospel and then Death of a Bachelor, and I literally told him that I do not like the songs, and then we just commenced our training. But the thing is, those songs were stuck in my head for weeks, and so eventually I went to listen to them on Spotify just to get them out of my head, but from that point on, and to this very day and this very moment, I have never stopped listening to Panic at the Disco. Now, I'm still a very indecisive person right now, but back then I feel like it was far worse because I went onto Discord one day and just said, what should I change my Roblox username to? And I took the suggestion that someone gave me and just went with that. And that suggestion was Chloe6C, and it was of course suggested by the very same Andrew that introduced me to Brendan. The sole reason he told me to change my username to Chloe6C is because his username was also Andrew6C. 6C, and that was the end of that. Not a super interesting backstory, but that's literally what happened. I don't know what else I can say. But shortly after Chloe 6C came our second wave of Chloe Yuri, because I just missed it so much, and that was also the very last time that I changed my username, mainly because I feel super attached to the name Chloe Yuri now. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but that just feels like me, and it feels like who I am. And so to change my username to literally anything else after Chloe Yuri just feels extremely strange and wrong, and it's just not something that I've ever felt the need or the want to do. So I guess this concludes all of my usernames and every single time I have ever changed my name on the platform that is Roblox. You guys know how much I absolutely love creating videos about these old things and my own personal experience on Roblox from over the years, and to just remember things that I probably wouldn't be talking about or thinking about otherwise. It's such a fun concept, and this was certainly a great video to make. I did talk for a little longer than usual, but when I have a lot to say, I just have a lot to say, and that is that. But anyway, when you guys think of my old Roblox usernames over the years from 2011 all the way to 2020, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.